We do follow you very closely. My name is Kayyum Masimov, and I am the project coordinator for Uyghur Rights Advocacy Project. Well, the situation is really bad. What is going on is genocide. We talk about internment camps where at the very least 1 million people hoarded up for no reason, just because they're Uyghur, different from Chinese. We talk about mass forced labor, people forced to work for free as slaves. We talk about sterilization. Women and men alike are being sterilized. We talk about at least 500,000 children being taken away from their parents and put into state-run orphanages where they've been indoctrinated and brainwashed. We talked about cultural and architectural linguistic heritage being destroyed. We talked about cemeteries being razed, ground out, and bulldozed, and turned into parking lots. You know, the list is going on, and this is happening in 21st century.
I see a picture of the Nazis' time in the Second World War.
Yes.
How is that? How is it similar to what's happening today?
Well, UN and many NGOs and many Western countries, among them 7 countries, they've been acknowledged genocide as a genocide. And our parliament, Canadian Parliament, has done so in February 22nd. It's been said that since Holocaust, since World War II, we talk about largest concentration camps for ethnic group, with people being jailed for no reason but because they are who they are. So we can make some historical parallels with Holocaust, and to that matter I see a lot of Jewish organizations or Canadians of Jewish heritage. They come forward and support of us, they give us support. So yes, it is very striking to see these parallels, but the reality, it is very much happening, and it's happening right before our eyes.
Right. And why do you think the media, Canadian media, don't talk about the issue as much as you'd like?
There is a progress. There is a improvement in that. There is more public awareness. There is more awareness among our elected officials. I cannot say that it's been ignored, but there is much more to be done. Very little interest because people do not probably understand or comprehend the complexity of the situation, and it is far away, but this is not the fact. It is an erroneous thinking. What is happening in China to Uyghurs is just it's a tip of an iceberg. China, as being China, the biggest, largest autocracy in the world, is actively exporting its know-how, how to suppress people and dissent. And what's been done towards Uyghurs is now being tested on us first, but now it's been transferred to interior China, to Hong Kong, and Taiwan is next. So we probably be more aware that this is a global issue, and it concerns everyone and every Canadian.
Okay.
That's my message.
And what would be a concern for Canadians?
Well, there are issues like two parallels. One is what Canada do as a government. We talked about our government led by Justin Trudeau, and the public and public perception. I believe there is a overwhelming support towards Uyghurs among ordinary Canadians, and statistical data shows that the impact or the negative view of China is its historic low. 90% of Canadians are very much negative point of view of China. There is a public empathy, public momentum on that, but what we would like to see is that our government finally reacts. It will honor the will of Canadian public, which was represented by its elected body, by the Parlement, when the motion was adopted unanimously, and it acknowledged Uyghur genocide. But unfortunately, on the part of the government, we haven't seen any concrete actions, besides of expressing deep concern. So that is very worrying and preoccupying for us as a diaspora.
Could you talk a little bit about globalization around the world and the impact of China in globalization?
Well, China is like an elephant in a China shop, It's so big, it's like it's unavoidable. Whatever shop you go and mall you go, you see products made in China, and very often we are ignorant under what conditions these products have been made, by whom it was made. So if we talk about human trafficking, China right now is the largest human trafficking state. We talk about millions and millions of people being transferred by force, relocated from Uyghur region into interior China to work as free, to work for free as slaves. So just an example. Mm-hmm. Yes, globalization is a good thing. It is unavoidable, because of global village. We become more and more close to each other. We become more and more intertwined. But there are some negative side of it, like we talk about forced labor, and there has been a report by UN stating that 20 to 30 million people around the world, they've been forced to work, as slaves. So it's a big issue. That is why Canadian Parliament right now is discussing introduction of bills specifics to banning slave force in supply chain and products coming into Canada. So it might be difficult, challenging for us to change behavior or behavior of China to begin with. But what we can do, we can start changing our own behavior, our own habits. Recycle, reduce, that kind of things. But more specific, be aware of products coming, merchandise coming from China, for example. We might stop buying these products. Number one, do we need them? Number two, can we make sure that these products are not tainted by slave force? So that's a big issue. We need to seek answer. Well, organ harvesting is a very big issue, and it's an ethical issue. It is probably the most outrageous, most egregious violation of human rights. I'll give you an example. In Canada, if you a sick person and you're in need of organ, a liver, a kidney, or iris or whatever, the waiting list it's for several years if you're lucky. If you are wealthy enough, you can travel to China, and within 1 week, they will find you a match of 3-4 candidates. So the question is, where these organs coming from? From whom? In China, as in any traditional Asian culture, it is very big taboo to use someone's organs. People do not voluntarily sign up, and they do not voluntarily donate their organs. What we've been saying for decades, that these organs, they come from the prisoners, and it's been reported by Falun Dafa followers. Now we say that Uyghurs are victims of organ harvesting. It's on industrial scale. Organs are being harvested from prisoners and from young, mature, healthy people who do not smoke, who do not drink alcohol. 28 to 45 years old. So this age group is specifically targeted. And now, if you've been aware, next to concentration camps, Chinese state is building crematoriums. It's been proven by satellite imagery. So China is burning bodies of prisoners. So the question is, what do they do with organs? What do they do with the prisoners who are there in the concentration camps? And you know, we do have facts. We do have people who've been targeted, who've been, you know, like even in Canada, we do have people whose parents, whose relatives been kidnapped, and they've been learned that afterwards they've been killed in concentration camps. So this is a big issue. So what we would like to do is that our government put full ban for all Canadians to travel to China for organ transplantation. This is the bare minimum that we have to do as a consciousness, with our consciousness. Because we do not know where the organs come, we should ban all, you know, medical tourism to China for Canadian citizens. So it is among of the, you know, demands that we put forward towards our government. It have to be addressed. We have to do something about it. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Oui, Alexis Brunel-Duceppe, député du Bloc québécois dans Lac-Saint-Jean et porte-parole pour le parti en matière de droits humains et d'immigration.
Parfait. Donc, est-ce que vous pouvez expliquer en petit résumé, c'est quoi la cause et pourquoi vous êtes ici?
Rapidement, en fait, pour faire un résumé de ce qui s'est passé dans la dernière année et demie pour ce qui se passe au Turkestan oriental avec la crise avec les Ouïghours et le génocide qui a lieu là-bas. Je suis vice-président du sous-comité des droits internationaux de la personne de la Chambre des communes. On a fait une étude au mois de juillet 2020 et on est arrivé avec un rapport en octobre 2020 où on nomme le génocide, où clairement dans le rapport c'est écrit qu'il y a un génocide qui est commis au Turkestan oriental présentement par le régime chinois envers les Ouïghours et les autres peuples turciques, donc envers sa propre population. Et lorsqu'on a sorti ce rapport-là, qui était consensuel avec tous les partis présents à la Chambre des communes, on n'a pas eu un gros impact médiatique. Je me suis creusé les méninges, j'étais très déçu de ça parce qu'on a eu des entrefilets dans les journaux, mais sans plus. Et je me suis dit que le levier le plus puissant présentement, c'était les Jeux olympiques de Pékin. Donc, je me suis mis à appeler plein de personnes. J'ai fait une lettre ouverte. Et à partir de ce moment-là, ça s'est emballé la machine. On a fait une lettre ouverte. On demande le report des Jeux olympiques. Et j'étais à Prague, au Congrès mondial ouïghour, il n'y a pas plus tard qu'une semaine, où on a fait adopter une résolution qui demande le report des Jeux de Pékin, à condition qu'il y ait une mission d'observation sous l'égide de l'ONU qui fasse la lumière sur ce qui se passe au Xinjiang, au Turkestan oriental. Et j'ai bien l'intention de déposer cette résolution-là ici à la Chambre des communes dès la semaine prochaine. Et avec les contacts de parlementaires internationaux que je me suis fait, on va essayer de la déposer dans d'autres parlements en Europe et aux États-Unis. Donc, on continue, on lâche pas, on est aux côtés du peuple ouïghour. Et si on était capable de reporter les Jeux de Tokyo pour une pandémie, il n'y a personne qui peut me dire que c'est impossible pour un génocide.
My name's Arnold Beerson. I'm the Member of Parliament for Peace River Westlock up in northern Alberta. So we're here today, we have the Uyghur Genocide Awareness Project is right here behind me. The Uyghur Genocide is, the Uyghur are a group of people that live in northern China. They're a Muslim religion, and the Chinese government has had a prolonged attempt to kind of push them out of the country or just generally persecute them. We've heard reports around forced labor. We've seen the pictures of the Uyghur people being lined up on the train station and being hauled out. The pictures are horrific, and the story is being told is that we said the Holocaust, we'd say never again, and yet here we are again seeing people lined up and put into train cars and hauled off to internment camps. The Canadian Parliament was one of the first in the world to recognize the genocide of the Uyghur people. A good friend of mine, Garnet Jennis, and then another member of Parliament, Michael Chong, really spearheaded this, and I was happy to support them in that. I also have worked very hard bringing awareness to this in the House of Commons by bringing petitions to the House of Commons, just recognizing the internment camps that they've been placed in, the forced labor that they've been forced to participate in, and also the attempts by the Chinese government to reduce their numbers through population control, whether that be forced abortion or other means, and so putting them in what the Chinese call re-education camps. So all of this is terrifying stuff, and we work to bring awareness about it right here in this country. I'm also the chair of the all-party parliamentary group to end human trafficking and modern-day slavery. Through this, we've been working with Senator Maville Deschênes, on a bill that would reduce, would look at forced labor in supply chains, so slaves and children in supply chains. I think next week she'll be actually tabling the bill back in the Senate. The bill was in a similar form presented last Parliament, so we're reintroducing that. We're hoping to try to get it done. A commitment for a bill such as this, like for supplier chain reporting, was both in the Conservative platform. I'm a Conservative member of Parliament. It was in our platform. It was also in the Liberal platform. So we're hoping that we'll be able to get that bill passed through Parliament, this Parliament, given the fact that there are a vast majority of the representatives in the House of Commons both ran on a platform that supported this. And so that's probably one of the biggest initiatives that I've been working on. However, there is questions around boycotting the Olympics in China. We, as a country, have to deal with that. We've got some sanctions around the Communist Party in China and how use Magnitsky sanctions on them. We've been calling for the government to do that on Chinese government officials, the Communist Party officials that are perpetrating this genocide in China, and calling for other jurisdictions to recognize the genocide. So we've seen, I think there's 6 or 7 countries in the world that are currently recognizing it, but we're looking forward to having our similar nations around the world recognize the genocide of the Uyghur people in China. Like foreign influence in our jurisdiction and our democracy is something that I'm always very concerned about. We see other countries around the world, Australia in particular, we see how they are very much focused on this issue. Here in Canada, it's yet to kind of be determined and decided. I know that there continue to be investigations around this. I look forward to some of the committee work getting started again so we can investigate this. We also have been calling on the Conservatives have been calling on the Liberal government to ban Huawei from our 5G networks, and I think that's an important part of keeping the Chinese out of it. But anecdotally, I hear stories around the Chinese tampering in our elections and these kinds of things, and yet we don't have any definitive evidence of that at this point.
And so, other than petitions and going on the media and talking about this issue, what can regular Canadians do to make a difference?
Well, they can do a lot. Number one, be aware of the situation. And number two, do not subsidize indirectly the ongoing genocide. And when I talk about subsidizing, we as Canadians might be unwillingly subsidizing genocide by purchasing products made in China. For example, cotton products coming from China. In China, 90% of cotton comes from Uyghur region, which automatically means that it's been heavily tainted by slave Uyghur force. So whenever we go to Costco, Walmart, Zara, H&M, Adidas, and we buy something there, textile made in China, there is very, very high probability that it's been manufactured by Uyghur slaves. So be aware of that. Do not buy made in China. Same thing goes for the tomato products. 30% of global supply comes from China, Uyghur region. Talk about solar panels. 50% of the world supply comes from Uyghur region because the rare earth material called silica, it can be found only in our region. So 50% of the solar panels in the world are tainted by Uyghur slave force. And when I talk about tainted Uyghur labor, slave force, it means people in concentration camps, people outside of concentration camps are forced to for free 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, for no more than for food. They've been given food and that's it, and they work for free. So this is big industrial scale human trafficking and abuse of power and genocidal politics, policies implemented towards one ethnic group by China. So by purchasing and consuming these products, we as Canadians ending up subsidizing indirectly this genocide. So probably awareness is number one, and number two, do not purchase things made in China.